apart, and it looks like there is no one who can save him. Mike Johnson can't save him, John Thune can't save him, and Donald Trump really can't save himself because we are in the midst of a government shutdown that everyone in America knows is Donald Trump and the MAGA movement's fault. They want to spin up lies about undocumented people stealing healthcare when the only person in this country, or people in this country stealing benefits, are billionaires, by the way, and it's just not landing, especially when even some MAGA Republicans are pointing out the dark secrets of Donald Trump's shutdown. And one who did, amidst an ongoing civil war within MAGA, is Marjorie Taylor Greene. And we are going to get into it all and how Donald Trump is losing it on Truth Social because of it. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get to Marjorie and Donald Trump's postings, I want to start with someone who broke down everything you need to know about the shutdown, and that's good friend of the show, Jasmine Crockett.
What we've seen, though, from the White House is not silence. They're actually, using all of their government websites to say this is Democrats pushing this shutdown. I think we can show you some of those websites showing these messages, blaming Democrats for this shutdown, HUD, DOJ, State Department, Agriculture. Do you think that they're being more effective in their messaging in terms of putting this blame on Democrats?
I think they're being a lot more illegal in their messaging. The first thing that I wanted to know was, how can this not be a violation of the Hatch Act in some way, right? Because we are not allowed to politic on official sites, period, right? And that's what they're doing. They literally changed official government websites to put out their propaganda. Instead of just saying we're currently in a shutdown, you decided to play partisan politics on an official website. And I guess there is no limit to what they won't do, because they do the exact same thing when we walk into committee. Instead of us having real committee hearings where we are actually able to get information that may somehow help the American people understand what's going on, instead, it's always a campaign rally that they're doing when we walk into committee, and it's more spewing of their propaganda. So I don't think that they're being more effective. I think that they are being more illegal in the ways that they're going about making sure that they can push out the information. I think that the American people are smart. As I was sitting here waiting to come on, I was going through my email, and almost at the top of my email was an email from a federal worker that said, "Keep up the great work. We will be okay. This is too important." So even in this moment, we are getting emails, or at least I am, from federal workers that understand the sacrifice that is happening right now. But this idea that, the retribution is going to be that since the government is shut down, then we're going to call in his henchman, Russell Vought, so that he can go and do what he's been doing. But he's been doing that with no permission. We've had to go to court, I don't know how many times, to say, no, you were wrong. You can't fire those people. So what difference does it make? They have consistently violated the law, whether it was statute or whether it was the Constitution. There is nothing different about this, in addition to the fact, when we're talking about violating law, how about impoundment? The very first thing that we talked about when we first got in is that there have been laws that have been signed into law. And what did they do? They sent in Elon Musk, and he started illegally just deciding he wasn't going to send out certain dollars today that people are still missing, that we had appropriated. So what assurances do we have if we entered into an agreement with these Republicans that they wouldn't go back on their word and just say, oh yeah, we'll sign off on a rescissions package? Everything that the Democrats fought for, such as health care assurances around the Affordable Care Act, yeah, we'll make sure that that holds. We don't have any assurances.
We've seen that argument from other Democrats.
Donald Trump is trying to spin up this narrative about undocumented immigrants stealing your health care. But here's an inconvenient truth for Republicans. Undocumented people in this country pay about $100 billion in taxes every year, a majority of which goes to payroll taxes, funding Medicare, Social Security, unemployment programs that they can't access. It's actually the truth that undocumented people are subsidizing our healthcare system. They're not stealing from it. And so this lie that Donald Trump is pushing at the same time as he is stealing your health care to give a giant tax cut to billionaires is idiotic. And it's easy to point out, even by someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who made the truth of this shutdown very clear. Donald Trump isn't too happy about it. Marjorie Taylor Greene turns on Trump and tells GOP to end the shutdown. One-time MAGA stalwart Marjorie Taylor Greene is deepening her rift with President Trump and his coalition with a demand that Republicans end the government shutdown. The Georgia Republican said this week's shutdown doesn't have to be happening and placed blame for the impasse on the GOP, which controls the White House and holds a majority in the House and the Senate. Right now, this shutdown is a big political fight and drama, but it doesn't have to be happening, she told InfoWars. The Senate can use the nuclear option and override the 60-vote rule. They can pass the CR with a simple majority. The lawmaker noted that the Senate activated this rule to expedite the confirmation of Trump's nominees last month. The funding bill that has the Senate in gridlock has already passed the House. Like Greene, the majority of Americans also blame Republicans for the shutdown, according to a poll conducted by the Washington Post this week. This is despite desperate attempts by the Trump administration, which include potential Hatch Act violations, to pin the stalemate on Democrats. Republicans, including Trump, have falsely claimed that Democrats are to blame for the shutdown because they want to give free health care to undocumented immigrants, when in fact federal law bars unauthorized immigrants from buying Obamacare marketplace plans or receiving Obamacare subsidies. Greene went on to criticize her fellow Republicans for playing politics when the shutdown is harming Americans, forcing TSA agents, air traffic controllers, and soldiers to continue working without pay. These are single moms that, people have hit hard times over the past 4 years because of inflation, and the cost of living is extremely high right now, the Congresswoman said. And so I don't think that these vulnerable Americans should pay the price because of politics in Washington, D.C. I believe that soon the Republican senators need to actually grow some courage in a spine. And of course, Donald Trump doesn't like that message too much because on Truth Social he was posting, "The Democrats want to give your healthcare money to illegal aliens and open our borders to the criminals of the world. A deadly combination because everyone will come." Marjorie Taylor Greene, for some reason, has shown a bit of common sense recently that you shouldn't give her any credit for because it's common sense. But of course, Donald Trump is responsible for the shutdown. Of course, MAGA is lacking a spine. And of course, they don't actually care about you. These are things that we already knew. But for more updates on what is happening with this shutdown, I want to speak to two progressive Democrats who are fighting back against it and winning the messaging war. And that is Jasmine Crockett and Greg Kazar right here.
I mean, listen, I don't run comms for the caucus, so I'm not going to tell you what the comms plan is. But first thing I did was I was on syndicated radio. Young Jock texted me this morning, was like, hey, can you jump on? So first thing this morning, I was on black radio so that black folk could hear me, a trusted voice, and know what was going on as they were going into work. I then got on with local news because it is important that my district, especially since I'm not there right now, it is very important that my local constituents, the ones that sent me to D.C., know that I have a message for them. So I got up, I did local news. All this evening, I am doing the national news. But this is just what me and my team have set out for ourselves. I do know that the leader had I think he was doing a 24-hour YouTube stream. And so I know that they were kind of running different people on that stream to try to communicate. We are behind. I mean, Michael, these are the facts. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie. We are behind. They are way ahead. Congressman Kazar brought up the fact that, yes, they're buying up the media space, but also just how to use the media. We're just now starting to get with influencers. We're just now starting to get online in general. Like, we are far behind.
I do think it is interesting, though, that part of the schism seems to be within their own caucus. There was reporting today from the Wall Street Journal about the fact that you do have moderate House Republicans who are floating a year-long extension of these health care subsidies. But it's the Freedom Caucus that's saying that's a non-starter for them. And then you have that Fabrizio polling from July that is basically like, hey, Republicans, if you decide to go with this move and actually raise people's health care premiums, Democrats are going to absolutely slaughter you come midterms. So there has to be someone, Congressman, in their caucus who knows that this is a political loser for them.
They know it's a loser, yes. And that's why they are floating these things of, well, trying to fix some of the problems they caused just in time for the elections. But we can't settle for just fixing their problem. We have to stand strong and actually fix the problems of the American people, because I think that even though their propaganda is strong, Michael, I think that if we deliver in a big and meaningful way for people, where folks expect Democrats sometimes to cave, but actually deliver in a big way, don't just give them one little year of an extension, then maybe folks can have another party to believe in.
There was a piece in the New York Times. There were a bunch of charts from Steve Ratner that I think help articulate this, and then I'll kick it over to you, Simone. Can we pull up Ratner's essay in the Times? Even upper-income Americans who buy insurance on the ACA exchanges will be hurt by the repeal of this tax break. That's because as coverage gets more expensive, healthier people drop their insurance first, forcing companies to raise premiums on the remaining customers to maintain profitability. Thanks to Republican legislators, a 55-year-old couple making $85,000 annually could see their health insurance costs more than triple to $24,535 a year. I think those types of illustrations are helpful, Simone, because I think sometimes when we have these conversations, they're like, oh, poor people aren't going to have health insurance. No, we are talking across the income spectrum about this affecting
We are talking about everybody. You know, I disagree with the chairman.
Yes.
You know, I think that again, usually I would argue my Democratic friends are very much so behind the 8 ball. I think that what has happened is you all have wrestled the narrative with something that is real. Steve Ratner is writing about this because that's what you all are talking about. Usually, shutdown fights are about budgets and taxes. This is about people's health care. And to be very clear, this is not the economy where you can leave your job.
No.
If you don't have a job, it's very hard to get a job. And if you have a job, you need to keep your job. It is already very expensive. So to see that people's premiums are going to go up by, in some places, 300%.
Yeah.
People who are making good money can't really afford that. On top of the Medicaid cuts. And so I actually do think this is strong ground to stand on. I wonder what is the... Like, is there an off-ramp? Like, at what point will how does this end?
Yeah, I don't know how this ends. We know that the last time we experienced a Trump shutdown, because this is what Trump does, if the American people have forgotten, the last time we experienced this, we know that it was the air traffic controllers that shut that thing down, right? Once the planes stopped going, then you had the airlines calling, you had all of those that were engaged in logistics in any way. Those businesses were calling and was like, y'all need to fix this. We don't care what you got to do because we are losing too much money. Unfortunately, the only language that this administration understands is the language of billionaires and dollars. And so I am hoping that there is some creativity as it relates to our federal workers to make sure that they start to speak the language of this administration. So I encourage all of our federal workers, listen, think hard, think long about how you can speak their language.
This is how we need to talk about the shutdown. Let's be direct. Let's lay out the stakes, and let's not be afraid to talk about the ways that Donald Trump is falsely vilifying undocumented immigrants. Again, these are people who are subsidizing our healthcare system. Immigrants built this country, they sustain this country, and I'm really just tired of them being scapegoated in this country. The only minority that we should have a problem with in America is the 1%, the billionaire class that is stealing from you, and I don't think we should be afraid to say that. We are going to continue to on this show every single day, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to support the show another way, you can become a member of my Substack by subscribing here or down below. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.